What's good YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Large and Conditioning. In today's video we'll talk about if soreness is a useful indicator of progress. Let's get right into it. Soreness to an extent can be a good indicator of your training sessions being hard enough. However, it may also be an indication that you're doing too much or going too hard. Firstly, when you first start out, you will of course be sore because it's a novel stimulus, meaning it's a new type of stimulus. Example, if you've been lifting for 5 years and start running, it's likely you will experience soreness. However, this is not an indicator of new growth in terms of muscle taking place. Crippling soreness is an indicator that you've been going too hard and done too much. Now, this is typical for late teens and early 20s of guys that tend to do this because they have this idea that they have to be crippled by soreness. The level of soreness will vary between people. Some may get almost no soreness at all, others will find themselves getting sore very easily. This is precisely why soreness can be hard to use as a gauge of a productive workout. Myself personally, I do not get sore at all. Even when I use a couple of training methods, I still don't get it. In order for me to get sore, I have to do so much it just becomes insane or not train at all for a long time, and even then I'll only be slightly sore. Others aren't naturally resistant towards being sore, and how often you train a muscle will also have an impact on how sore you get, if at all. Aside from being new to the gym, if you only train a muscle once a week, then the muscle isn't getting used often. Therefore, it's adapted to be used rarely. Because of this, you're much more likely to experience soreness, whereas if you train your muscle 2 to 4 times per week, the same muscle is used to be worked very often. When a muscle is adapted to be used often, you will likely not get sore unless you start throwing a lot of volume at the muscle, then it will get sore again. However, chasing soreness will just lead to you doing ever increasingly more and more. However, just with your ability to read and learn, there's a threshold where more won't give you better results. So there are two things you have to consider when trying to use soreness as an indicator of progress. Firstly, your natural ability to not get sore. Secondly, how often you train a muscle. How often you put a muscle under load will determine how adapted it is to work. If you train your biceps once per week, you will likely experience soreness. However, if you work them 3 times per week, you will likely not experience soreness at all, or perhaps very little. As well, if you have to consider your gym experience, if you are a newbie, you will likely experience some soreness relatively often. The answer is soreness is a good indicator. Depends on where you are on your fitness journey and as well as how often you train the muscles. So the things you have to consider is how new you are and how often you push the muscle under load and your own sleep. As bad sleep means worse rest, which could lead to experience more soreness. These are the main takeaways in order to use soreness as an indicator of progress. Over time, the level of soreness you feel should become very minimal just because your body is adapted to work that much more from your training. So do not feel the need to chase the soreness, rather train hard and do the appropriate training volume. If you find yourself needing to spend 2 hours at the gym to get sore because you think you have to be sore, guess what? This is actually counterproductive, and thus you would need to reduce what you're doing and focus on quality sets rather than quantity. It is much better to do 6 hard sets for muscle rather than doing 15 sets that are just kind of challenging, however aren't actually challenging at all, and not forcing the muscles to grow at all. With this, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Large and Conditioning signing out. Have a good one.